So I just want to say welcome everybody. Really excited. This is our first seven generation scholarship workshop. And so this is a really exciting, we're really happy to welcome you here. And I wanted to introduce myself. So my name is Kelly Rutherford. I am a member of the Blackfeet Nation in Montana, and I am one of the Seven Generation Scholarship Committee members, and I was also a former Seven Generation Scholarship recipient. And so a couple of things, we just, we want to remind you that the Seven Generation Scholarship has been going on for 10 years, which is amazing. And so and it's become more competitive each year. And so with that being said, the personal statement is a really strong part of submitting your application, and that's what brings us here today. We really want to be here to support you through submitting your full applications with as strong as it can be, which includes writing a strong personal statement. We want to, tonight we want to provide you with a better understanding of what it will take to apply, determine your eligibility for the for the application, how to apply. You'll also hear from one of our past 7G scholarship recipients. And then we also have a wonderful guest here tonight to be able to give you all some more learning tips on how to write a strong personal statement. And then feel free to write any questions in the chat. We will definitely take a moment to review your questions during as well as towards the end as well. And then we will also have a survey at the end of the workshop. And so we would love to hear your feedback with that as well. So, since we talked a little bit about what to expect for today's workshop, today I'd like to introduce a few of the folks that are helping support and facilitate this workshop. So first and foremost, I'd like to give a shout out to Jamaica Cervantes. She is kind of behind the scenes, but she's the one who has been really supporting the scholarship throughout all these years. And she's also the one that coordinated this workshop here today. So thank you so much, Jamaica. So I introduced myself. I also have Esther. Do you want to say hello, Esther, and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Esther Stoffer. I am Alaska native from the village of Chefornik, and I am the Workforce Development Director here at the CWD department. I've been here with the American Health Center for 3 years now, and I've been part of the scholarship committee for 2 years now. So I welcome everybody, and I look forward to providing the presentation for you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write it in the chat. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you. Ricky, are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yay! Yes. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself? We'll also hear from Ricky a little bit later, but would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Ricky Hopper. I'm California native, Big Valley Pomo. I'm also Kickapoo and Sac and Fox out of Oklahoma. I'm a program coordinator here. Esther's actually my director. So I've been program coordinator with the workforce development for almost a year now. And then I've also been a 7G scholarship recipient for 4 years. And then I'm also a current grad student at UC Berkeley for Master of City Planning. So thank you all for having me here. I'm really excited for today.
Yay! Thank you, Ricky. Ricky just got accepted into grad school. So congrats to you, my dear. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. And then Nandita, you want to go ahead and say hello and just quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Nandita. I'm here as your writing consultant. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you all both today and in the one-on-one sessions that we'll be holding for you. More on that later.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I totally grazed over what I do here at Native American Health Center. So I work in the Human Resources Department. I am what's called a Human Resources Generalist, but I really focus on recruitment. And you all as seven generation scholars, you are who I focus on recruiting and, all of our Native community be able to support and employ. So I've been at the organization since 2021 and yeah, still going strong. In fact, at the end of this month, I'll hit my 5-year mark, which Natalie, I cannot believe. So yeah, I love working here, and I love also being a part of this, of this program of the scholarship. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Esther. Esther, you can go ahead and take it away and give you a little bit of a scholarship overview and the application. Oh, whoops, forgive me. So I wanted to introduce you to the rest of our, a few of them couldn't be here with us, but a few of our rest of our committee members. So Emery Tahi, he is an evaluator too with our community wellness department, and he is a member of the Diné tribe. We also have Jemsy Ortiz. She's a program manager for our research and evaluation program, and she is a member of the Northern Cheyenne tribe. And then we also have Sophia Taula Lieres, and she is a former NHC staff member, but she's now a project director for John Hopkins Center for Indigenous Health, and she's affiliated with the Umatia tribe, Nez Perce, Cayuse, and Walla Walla. And then lastly, Jessica Cacklin. She is a care coordinator too for our integrated behavioral health department, and she's Tlingit from Alaska. She's actually in Japan right now. I'm really jealous. So, so yes, so that's the rest of our committee, and I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Esther.
Natalie, thank you, Kelly. Before I start, I would like to give the opportunity for Natalie Aguilera to provide a welcome to you. So, Natalie, if you're available, I believe you're on mute.
Hi, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Thank you, Esther. I'm Natalie Aguilera. I'm here at Native American Health Center. And I actually started this scholarship 10 years ago, and I'm so excited we're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. It's blown up more than I expected. When we first started the first year, we had 3 applicants. And then I think this past year we had over 45. So just amazing to see the support we're able to provide students. If you're interested in healthcare, we would love for you to check Native American Health Center out when you finish your school, whether that be a college degree, tech degree, any degree you're interested in. But this is the first time we've offered support in this area. A few years ago, the scholarship did become very competitive. And one of the key areas that separates applicants from each other is the written statement. And so we realize that some students need some support in this area, and this workshop will help you whether you're applying to our scholarship, other scholarships, or maybe just personal statements for college applications. So we're hopeful that this will help in many different areas. So we're glad you're here, and I just want to thank the committee for keeping the scholarship going. I appreciate you all, and just excited that we're here this evening. So good luck to you all.
Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate you being on here as well. I know you have a busy schedule. So I know that higher education is something that we all strive for, and we all want to ensure that you are successful in reaching your dreams, and also to provide you the tools you need to ensure that you have a good written personal statement. So I think I'm very proud of everyone that's here today, and everyone that has gone through higher education, completed their degree, and also are pursuing the master's degree programs as well. And I noticed that there was one person that's also in law school. So good luck on your finals. I know they're probably a couple of months out, but good luck on your finals. So, like Natalie indicated, our 7th generation scholarship started 10 years ago, and it grew from probably 5 students to now more than 200 students that were provided a scholarship. And since it started in 2016, the support goes to Native American Alaska Native students in Alameda, San Francisco, and Contra Costa counties. We would like to see you advance access to education, which is a key social determinant of health for Native communities. We want to make sure that our Native students have the education they need so that they can become successful and enter professional careers that they will strive in. We also like to empower Native students. You want to go back one slide? We would like to also empower Native students to achieve their academic and career goals. We also like to invest in academic and professional development for the Native American Health Center staff. Next slide, please. Thank you. We also have a nursing scholarship, our Mother Scholarship of Nursing, in memory and honor of the mothers of Native American Health Center's valuable veteran family nurse practitioners, Bonnie Translitsky and Jerry Klassen. Our Mother's Nursing Scholarship will be awarded to 7G scholarship recipients who are pursuing a career in nursing. That's a very important degree and have demonstrated compassion and excellence in their engagements and services to improve the health and wellness of our community. Next slide, please. I will be talking about 3 points of impacts that 7 generation scholarships have impacted. The first one is the number of years the 7G Scholarship Fund has been active. It's been 10 years, so congratulations to the scholarship and the scholarship committee for working 10 years to make sure that our students get the scholarship they need to complete their education. The number of scholarships that have been given out, we have 152 scholarship awardees that received from a range between 1,000 to about 2,000. Sometimes it's a little higher depending on your degree. And that's been going on from 2017 to 2025. And then the total funding awarded for our 7G scholarship awardees is $271,000 between the years of 2017 to 2025. That is a huge impact for our Native students in our community. Some of our eligibility requirements that we have, you do have to be tribally enrolled or affiliated with federal, state, or tribal recognition. So we do accept the California judgment roll as part of the state. That's why we have state on there. Or Native American Health Center full-time staff. You do have to work between 80% to 100% in our organization and at least work 1 year from the time of the application. So if you applied today, you would have had to been employed prior to 3/19/2025. You do have to reside in Alameda, Contra Costa, or San Francisco counties of the state of California. Sometimes there are situations where that the county does come up, but that's on a case-by-case situation. But we mostly ask that the applicants reside in those 3 counties. They do have to have a high school graduate or equivalent, and then accepted to or currently attending a nonprofit and accredited community college, university, or vocational technical training institution located in the United States. You do have to have a GPA of 2.5 or higher, and you must be enrolled as a full-time or part-time student. A part-time student, you do have to take at least 1 class that is a 3-semester unit or a 4-quarter unit. Next slide, please. The required documents for the scholarship application, you do have to have a completed application, and we'll let you know where you can apply on the next slides. The documentation showing proof that you are tribally enrolled or affiliated through federal, state, or tribal recognition. The individual documentation or immediate family documentation will be eligible, meaning you can be a descendant and still qualify for the scholarship. Native American Health Center staff do not need to provide this documentation if this does not apply. So the scholarship is open to any Native American Health Center staff. Class schedule showing full-time or part-time status, and an acceptance letter if recently admitted to a school. So if you applied for college this year, we do need to see an acceptance letter of your start date for either spring or summer or fall. And you must be enrolled as a full-time or part-time student, taking at least one course, minimum of 3 semesters, like I mentioned, 3 semester units and the 4 quarter units. You do need to submit a 2026 transcript from your high school, vocational school, or college. You do have to show your GPA of 2.5 or higher. And we do accept unofficial transcripts from you. Letter of recommendation from an instructor, counselor, and/or mentor within the 2026 program year. The letter of recommendation should include information on who the recommender is, their connection with the applicant that they are recommending, and reasons for why the applicant is qualified for the 7G scholarships. We've read quite a few letters, and there are some quite impressive letters of recommendations that we review as committee members. And then a written personal statement. Next slide, please. Where can you apply? We do have our application on the nativehealth.org website. It is under About Us section. And if you click on the 7th Generation Scholarship Fund, you'll be able to find the application there. Next slide, please. The most important dates that you need to look at, our application opened on March 15, 2026, and it will close on midnight on May 15, 2026. For the individuals that received a scholarship, you do have to submit your academic status and expense receipts to the scholarship committee by December 31, 2026.
Thank you, Esther. Awesome.
If you have any questions, let us know. You can either go on chat or unmute yourself and ask the questions you need. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Esther. So we wanted to go ahead and jump into some couple of quick tips for a strong application, and then we'll talk a little bit about a writing resource lab. So we always encourage our 7G applicants to start early. We also want you to double check, maybe even triple check if it applies. And then we also want to review and talk about that the key component is the personal statement. Proofreading, huge, right? Carefully reviewing the personal statement prompts and answering exactly what they are, right? Don't want to give too much, don't want to make sure that you give enough. And then lastly, the reason why we wanted to have this workshop as well is because we're also supporting you with one-on-one help, hence why we have Nandita here to be able to, utilize that support with the one-on-one help to strengthen your personal statements. So as I mentioned, the writing labs will have you sign up for them. They will be shared and posted on our website, so feel free to check that out and schedule as you please. We highly encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity, as we really want you to be as successful as possible with this application, not only our application, scholarship application, but with other scholarship applications as well. So with all that to be said, we got you an overview of the application process, a little bit of how we started. I'd like to turn it back to Ricky because as Ricky mentioned, she is a former 7G scholarship recipient. And we thought it would be great to hear from Ricky a little bit about her experience in applying to the 7G scholarship. So I just had a couple of questions for you, Ricky. First and foremost, why did you decide to apply to the 7G scholarship?
So when I applied to the 7G scholarship, I was trying to look at just background about me. I'm a first gen college student. So I think for me, the costs were really so shocking to me, especially when I got in university. When I was in community college, I was able to get Pell Grants that were able to cover it until I got to university. And it was a big like shock to me because you'd have to walk in like your classes, pay a certain fee before you can secure your spot in class, and it could go up to like $700 for just one class. And one of the employees at Native Health Center connected me with 7G to sign up and get assistance for that. And sure enough, lucky enough, I got lucky and got accepted for it, and I was able to have my classes paid for, being able to lock in my position and not worrying about, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money to cover my class, or I'm gonna have to be on the wait list now if I got the payment late. So that was one of the biggest things that helped me a lot with having 7G help me, especially as my first time as a college student.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky. Trust me, I know exactly what you're talking about. It is shocking. That's a really good word to describe it. Shocking how much money it costs. So thank you for helping us be able to relate to you. And I was just curious, lastly, how did you approach writing your personal statement and what were some of the things that you did to prepare?
So for me, when I did my personal statement, I kind of found, kind of connected my passion to my life story. So making sure it correlates for what I've been through growing up. And also too, something I had learned over time was I was aware that when people look through applications, they look through so many. And this isn't just for 7G, but in just college in general. Looking at applications, it's kind of a fast process. I kind of learned over time, like you need to have a hook. Having a hook is able to pinpoint easier on like what point you're trying to get to. So I learned from making sure I start off my personal statement story off well, pretty strong, and then also having it cascade and making sure it makes sense all together. And another thing I had done was making sure I end it strong as well. So that way I'm like, okay, when I'm write down something that happened to me, making sure it all kind of ties in together, kind of like wrap it up, bow it up, and then making sure like, okay, maybe hopefully they'll take something from my application or give them something like, okay, she has a starting and an end point and it sticks with them. So that was something that that's how kind of the ways I approached my personal statement letter.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky. That's all really helpful. And it sounds like you took the time to prepare and be really thoughtful and intentional with the process. As we mentioned, this 7G scholarship has become more competitive over the years. And we have found that the personal statement, we want it to be, this is where we get to know you and making sure, and Ricky said it, like, we want to know more about you. What is it that you're passionate about? What is it you want to do? And how will this scholarship help you succeed? So with that being said, to be able to do that clearly, effectively, creating some strategies. Most importantly, we want to turn it over to Nandita to be able to support and lead you through that process. So Nandita, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Wonderful. And we are just going to switch who's sharing the screen for a second, and I'm going to take that. All right. Lovely. So before I start, just a few framing things. The first is there are many ways to write a really good personal statement. So these tips are one way. If you are an experienced writer already, you probably have your own way of doing it. If this is your first time writing a personal statement, this is intended to help you. But please don't see any of this as you have to write this way or you won't move forward. Nothing like that. The second thing is today might feel like a little bit of information overload. I'm going to cover a lot of material in the next 20 minutes because we want to leave about 10 minutes for you all to ask questions. Don't worry, the presentation will be made available for you, so you can take a look at it later. And there's the one-on-one writing labs, yeah? So just let the information wash over you. Don't let it be too intimidating at this point. And then finally, there'll be a couple of moments in this presentation where I invite your input. I'd love for you to just unmute yourself and speak. So I'll be showing you examples that I wrote and inviting you to suggest how those examples might be made stronger, right? So I would love some participation so I'm not sitting in awkward silence when I pose those questions. All right, so let's get going. So this is the question that the personal statement is going to be responding to, right? How did you decide on your choice of area of study? And how will it support your personal and professional goals? So one of the things I suggest as a starting point is a mind map, a brainstorm, right? Start by thinking about one specific incident in your past that caused like an aha moment about what you wanted to study. An incident where you realize, okay, this is what I think I want to spend more years of my life thinking about. And once you have that, think about a specific incident that helped you connect that realization to what you want to achieve in the future. Okay, let me give you an example. So let's say I'm writing a personal statement, and this is how I've decided to brainstorm. I realize I love writing. I want to share voices from my community. So feel free to unmute yourselves and tell me, what do you think about my starting points? What do you think works? What do you think might benefit from refinement?
A little bit more detail about
Exactly.
why, how you realize that you love writing.
Exactly. Thank you for being the first one, Vanessa. Exactly right? Specificity. So if I was to be more specific, so I did this exercise really myself. So I was trying to think to myself, when did I realize I loved writing? And it was May 2007. I was in a coffee shop in Kigali, in Rwanda, in East Africa. And I realized I had this aha moment when I was writing an email to my grandparents who were living in India. And then flash forward, I knew I wanted to do something with writing, but I didn't perhaps realize what I wanted to do till I was reading this book called The Other Side of Silence, which was about oral narratives from women who'd experienced partition between India and Pakistan. Okay? And so these were the two specific instances, one that led to me discovering, okay, this is what I want to study. And the other one that was a revelation about how I want to use what I want to study in my community, for my community, in my life. Step two. So you might think, okay, that was a huge step forward from, I love writing to narrowing it down to a coffee shop in Kigali. Yes, progress. But what I would recommend you do is dig even deeper into sensory information about those moments, right? So let me go back to an example. So if I was going back to May 2007, a coffee shop in Kigali, while I was writing an email to my grandparents, I would want to think about who was around me. In that instant, I was alone. What was I doing in addition to writing? I was drinking a cappuccino. What time was it? It was 4 p.m, and I was sitting in a coffee shop, and it was a cloudy day. Like I remember this vividly, even today, and it's been 20 years since I had that experience, right? Similarly, I was wanting to study the history of partition. My husband, who's an English teacher, recommended the book. I was sitting somewhere in San Francisco. Now, this part is a little bit fictionalized because I made these realizations a little bit before I moved to San Francisco, but bear with me here. Also, a good note that you can include a little bit of fiction in your personal statement to make all the ideas flow. And I realized the strong links between writing and anthropology. And I remember that we were burning incense, right? So there was sandalwood incense burning in the room. So now what happens at this stage usually is you start writing these details and you get lost in the memories. You're like, oh, I remember the taste of that cappuccino. I remember the smell of that sandalwood. And you can get a little caught up in details that actually are not very consequential. So step 3 is go back to the question. Once you have written down these important moments and your W's, go back and ask yourself, was this detail actually important in the revelation? Or am I just enjoying the flashback and not really adding what's important, right? So in this case, for me, is being alone an important detail? Yes, it was. Being alone helped me realize how writing was helping me not feel alone, even when there was no one around me, right? Did the cappuccino play a role in my experience of that realization? Yeah, Ricky's nodding no. No, that was like, yeah, the cappuccino was really good, but had little or nothing to do with how I decided on my choice of area of study. Was the time of day, the cloudiness important? For me, no. But I could see how for someone that could create mood, right? You were sitting there, the air was gray and it inspired you to write. Could be, but for me, the answer was no. And was it important that it happened in Kigali? And for me, the answer was yes, because it was my first time in East Africa. I was writing to my grandparents who were in India, who had no idea what Rwanda was. And trying to explain through storytelling what I was experiencing is what helped me love writing. Right? So now you're going to help me try the second part of my statement. You're going to help me think about, could this be important? And if so, how? So let's look at the first question. Could it be important that the book was recommended by my husband? And if it could be important, what would make it important to my personal statement? Anyone?
It will be important that your husband is supporting your personal and professional goals, and he helped you realize what you wanted to do.
Thank you, Didi. Yes. So if I was going to write about a professional goal that involved something to do with caring for community, for building support systems, building resiliency, yes, it would absolutely be important that the book was recommended by my husband to show that there was a connection, right? Now, on the flip side, what would make the book recommended by my husband not an important detail? What would be an example where that might actually be an interesting detail, but not really useful to the personal statement? Any thoughts?
If it didn't relate to your writing, your career goal of becoming a writer.
Yes. So if I waxed eloquent for an entire paragraph about how I love my husband because he's so supportive, and I say nothing about how I'm going to use creative writing to then further my goals, yeah, that's not answering the question, right? And this is something to be really careful about, because often in personal statements, we're writing about things and people that are really important to us. So it can feel like, oh my God, but I have to talk about my husband because he's so important in the story of my life. But it doesn't answer the question, right? So sorry, dude, you get cut out of my personal statement. Okay. He's sitting behind me hearing the whole thing. It's all good, right? Let's think about something. One more question. And again, let's see, could the setting of San Francisco be important? Why might it be important or not? This time, free to your opinions and ideas. In what kind of context could that detail be important? And in what kind of context in my personal statement would it be an irrelevant detail that's nice to know, but not necessary? Go for it, Ricky.
Maybe it inspired you to start your career there or go to school there.
Yeah. Yeah. So the place actually made it really important for my decision on what I wanted to study and what I wanted to do, right? And similarly, if I was say, for example, I was doing a path of study that involved medicine, and my goal was to help people in need in India, stressing the fact that I read in this book in San Francisco, not sure that would be that relevant. Yeah. So this is just a way for you to just keep going back to the question and asking yourself, is this relevant? Is this answering the question? So I'm going to just scoot forward, right? So this is a template for those of you who like templates. And again, I'm going to reiterate that this is just one example. Please do not in any way see this as a formula, right? I also want to iterate that the use of AI is not encouraged in your application. So I'm offering this template as a way for you to fill it out with your own. Great. I'm glad you love templates, Kelly. So you'll see, right? So for the past, I suggest starting with general information, painting a little bit about the picture, getting into some details, and then building to a transition that takes us from the past to the future. And then in the future, again, I've suggested starting with general information. So if you're talking about health, for example, public health, talking about the national context, going to the regional context, going to the local context, and then talking about what you individually want to contribute to that public health issue. Right? So it often helps to think about it like a funnel. You start with something really broad, make it specific. Start with something broad, make it specific, but always going back to your question. So if I was going to do this with all of the examples that I just shared with you, right? My past paragraph would talk about how I was on my own in Kigali, writing this email. And as I wrote, what did I learn? I learned how the genocide in 1994 affected women in ways that often miss official documentation. And that's when I realized, man, writing can be a way to communicate thoughts and feelings, sure, but also a way to understand history and politics, right? And then I would use that to transition to the future and say, we live in a time where there's a lot of ongoing war. I would talk about how many victims of ongoing conflicts in South Asia, because that's where I want to focus my study, are women. I'm going to talk about that book that I read, right? And I'm painting the picture of that book and that moment because it's important to what I decided to study, which is through writing as an anthropological method. I'm going to shine light on the voices of women that are often ignored when we talk about conflict, right? Now, there's one thing I want to highlight here that was missing from the previous steps. In none of my previous steps did I talk about women, right? I was talking about writing, I was talking about Rwanda, I was talking about the future. But as I'm writing my personal statement, I realized that actually it was not just writing in general, but it was writing about women in war zones that was particularly powerful to me. And then I made sure that that point comes back in my second paragraph, right? I mentioned that I was interested in writing about the experiences of women. And so I've chosen this book that is about the experiences of women and tied it to what I want to pursue in my area of study, which is highlight the experiences of women. Okay, so as you write, writing is a really iterative process. And so I wanted to show this to you because you might start with the brainstorm and think you have all the parts of it, but till you write it, you might not actually know what small cohesive components need to be added, right? So if I was to break all of this down into a summary, this is how I'd break it down for you. Connect the dots, right? So I'll try to brainstorm what instances you have to answer the question. Fill out the W's, fill out the sensory information, paint as much of a picture as you can. Then go back to the question, make sure you've included only relevant information. And then when you have it together, you have a paragraph about your past, you have a paragraph about your future, ensure that there's cohesion. And this is where I'm not doing a shameless plug here, sort of doing a shameless plug. It's okay. This is where it can be really helpful to have an outside sounding board, right? So you write this, you write your draft, and to you, it's going to look great, right? Because you're writing about your passion. It's really hard to distance yourself. But this is where I can be of help, right? And if you don't want a stranger to read it and there's someone in your life who you would prefer to read it, that's absolutely fine. But this is where having an outside sounding board can be really helpful because it's slightly easier for me to tell you, this is a really lovely detail about your life, Ricky, but it has nothing to do with the question. What can we do to highlight that link? Right? So our sessions one-on-one, Jamika will send you more information on how to schedule them. And ideally, you would send me a draft before we meet. So I have time to look at it, think about it, give you very, very individualized feedback. And then in our time together to take you through writing exercises or whatever it is you need to put your best foot forward for the application. All right. Thank you for listening to my monologue, mostly monologue. Thank you for those who interrupted the monologue. And I'd like to hand it back to Kelly and most importantly to all of you so you have time to ask the questions.
Thank you so much, Nandita. Let's give her a round of applause. Woo! That was wonderful. That was absolutely wonderful. I think that you have given such great guidance to be able to support our recipients. I think it's really important, some of the skills that it sounds like you've developed that have been able to come out of this is my critical thinking. Right? And all of the ways that I can continue to ask myself questions to be able to develop and write the best personal statement that I can. I had a question, and then we're going to open it up about word limit. So a lot of personal statements, including the 7 Generation Scholarship, have either a word minimum or a word limit. What are your thoughts and feedback on word limits?
This is a question for me, right?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. So one of the things I often suggest is for word limits, when you're writing your first draft, and excuse the rather horrendous imagery, but your first draft I'd recommend is a verbal diarrhea version. So just write, don't edit yourself. Right? So you've done this brainstorming, you think you know what you want to write about, just write that version without editing yourself. Most writers I know, that's where they get stuck, is that you start editing a sentence and then you go back and re-edit the sentence and then you start editing the next paragraph and you realize you have to go all the way back to your previous paragraph and redo the whole thing. So do yourself a favor, just let yourself write. And then once you've done all the writing that you can do, that's when you start to sculpt. That's when you start to say, okay, this is not necessary. Can I say what I've said with 10 words in 5, right? And again, with the caveat that there are these word counts because, the people reading these applications are humans who can't read pages worth of text. But outside of this context, right, word counts are a little bit contrived. So they're not useful for log or writing projects, in my opinion. Every story needs something different. But in this case, you're writing an application where there are certain requirements. So write without censoring yourself. And then once you're done with the verbal diarrhea version, go back and sculpt.
That's wonderful. Thank you for those tips and that feedback. I think we all know what you mean when you say the verbal diarrhea. So don't you worry. I had another question. So let's say that maybe there's a recipient an applicant, excuse me, that's busy, right? They have this packed schedule, and let's say the coordination to be able to work with you doesn't end up working out. For a one-on-one session, what are some other resources that you can recommend to those that may not be able to work with you with packed schedules? That way they can still find some additional resources.
Those are great questions. So the first thing I would suggest is think of someone in your life who could help. right? And I think the most important thing is finding someone who's not too close to you, someone who can be a little bit distant from the thing that they are giving feedback on for the same reason, right? So someone who knows you very well, it's going to be harder for them to give you feedback, and it's going to be harder for you to take that feedback without getting emotional. The second thing, and this is a question for the scholarship committee. I know that different scholarship teams have different rules on this. Now, for me, this is one place where AI can actually be helpful, is to give you feedback without editing your text. Right. So to ask the whatever your favorite AI thing is give me feedback on how to improve it. But in your prompt, say, do not rewrite it for me because my text will be disqualified. Would that be okay with the scholarship committee?
It's funny you ask. Those are still things that we're determining.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say yes or no because that is something that we are still determining as a committee. And
Yeah.
so we do want to encourage all of our applicants to use your best discretion, in terms of your writing. My personal is that a person is always best, but I do think that these, technological tools are really, really helpful. And in fact, will be helpful in the future with your future careers as well. So thank you actually for bringing that up. That's a really, really great point. But we're still deciding as a committee. So
Totally
applicants,
fair.
it's up to you.
And it's not just you all, right? This is across the globe. People are trying to
Sure.
figure out what to do with it. And then the final tip I have is if none of those options work for you, is to record your personal statement as audio and listen to it. Sometimes coming at a piece of text through a different medium can allow you to see things or hear things that you don't because you're looking at the word on the page. So especially if you're someone who's super busy, record it on your phone, play it on your way to work, listen to it, and then go back and edit the text. So that can also be a helpful editing tool.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's amazing. I never would have even thought of that. So thank you. Sorry, Esther, go ahead.
okay. I think the other thing that really helped me is to read the actual essay out loud. That way you can hear the actual where there might be some things that you might need to add or edit. So that's helped me in the past before where I read the whole sentence out loud.
Thank you, Esther. We will right now, so we still have a few moments. We would love to either see a question in the chat or if you would like to unmute and ask any other questions, this is the time. Please take advantage of this time that we have. Do we have any questions from our applicants, past applicants, or potential future applicants? Vanessa, go for it.
Yes, I have a question because I know there's certain requirements for this scholarship, but what if you're doing online classes? It's not necessarily to an accredited four-year college, but it's accredited classes, but they're online.
Do you want to take that, Jamika? I can answer.
Yeah. So Vanessa, if you don't mind, I will drop in the link, the 7G scholarship email. If you don't mind just emailing us what your school name is, the classes that you're enrolling in, and we could kind of reference that so that we could see like, will this be eligible for an application, a scholarship? If it falls within the lines of the unit requirement, if it's that we could still try to figure out what could work. So if you could just email us, then that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think for individual cases like that, it's best to get a hold of Jamaica.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. That's actually a great question. we really do encourage our applicants. We've had very specific degrees, licensures, certifications. So it's really exciting to see the wide variety of what folks, how they'd like to further career in terms of what they want to achieve with this scholarship. So yes, so any really specific questions that you may have, along the lines of eligibility, like please definitely email 7G scholarship at nativehealth.org, or Jamaica left the phone number to be able to get a hold of her as well. That way we can try to handle this, early, as we said earlier. Any other questions? Either unmute or you can write in the chat that you may have. Valentino, go for it.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Yes, my name is Valentino. My pronouns are he and his. I was just wondering what the timeline looks like after the deadline. So the deadline's finished. What are we expecting after that? Are we looking for like follow-up emails? I know that there's supposed to be a like a banquet where we go to, and then there's a whole award ceremony. What's the after process look like?
Yeah, that's a great question, Valentino. Jamaica, she's my brain here.
No worries. Yeah. So Valentino, after you submit your application, if you meet that deadline, May 15th by midnight, you submit. After that, our committee will review your application. So that will be a period of time where you will might get some emails from me asking for maybe if you missed something or if there's some clarification needed, then I'll reach out during that period. But other than that, basically the committee will be reviewing all the applications, and then after the review period, the notifications for those who are receiving a scholarship or not will be sent out. That will also include the details for the scholarship dinner that you mentioned earlier. So it's right now the dinner is scheduled for June, so you'll be hearing between May and June from the committee or myself.
Thank you for that, Jamaica. Yes, it really, a lot of our timeline depends on when our committee can meet. So coordinating can become challenging, but we usually aim to have notifications sent out of, excuse me, of awardees. Usually by the first week of June, if not beginning of the second week. So that's usually what we aim for. And then, just following up with last minute items as well. Did you have anything to add on to that, Jamaica, or anybody else?
Nope, I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Usually between the 2 first weeks of June, you'll hear back from the committee or myself on, your
Awesome.
application status.
Yeah. Okay, great. So with the time that we have, we'll go ahead and leave it open for one last question. Any other questions either in the chat or want to unmute and ask us a question?
I didn't formulate it ahead of time, but I guess scope comes into mind. And specifically, when we're talking about reasons why we are where we're at, we can connect that to where we've been, as in our upbringing. And a lot of us will delve into our native roots, and that can go very far back. So it can be dark and resilient and all kinds of things like that. So sometimes I wonder how much to say, like when relating who I am, my tribe, my connection. And even as much as like my through my grandmother, then through my father, and then and who we are connected to in leadership of our government or our tribal government, or whether to focus on individualistic aspects, a little less community centered in that way, and uh, something that we just personally felt impactful. I don't know if that's clear as far as I guess where you would recommend looking to draw the story from.
I think that's a you question, Nandita.
Yeah, happy to take it. And my 2 cents would be it really depends on your authorial voice. I think whenever I've been part of scholarship committees or application committees reading essays, the choice you make on whether you want to delve into something more community based or whether you want to rely on something individual tells me something about who you are. Okay. And so it's a question of, is that the part of yourself that you want to show in this application, given the question that you are answering and given what you are applying for? There's also ways to add little caveats in your writing and say, I would have loved to answer this with a more communal perspective, but for the scope of the statement, I'm focusing on this. That also tells me, okay, so this is someone who, if we had time for a longer conversation, their perspectives have been framed by community and history, but they're choosing the more individual, personal because of what the application has asked them. So those are two ways to come at it, right? Just know that the choice that you're making is saying something about who you are and your voice, and that's important.
Thank you, Nandita. The other thing too we have is we have a limit number of words that you can provide in the essay. So like she had mentioned, I would write it all down and then scale it back to fit the actual essay requirement. So, but for those types of questions, I would ask Jamika.
Awesome. Those are all really great tips. And that was actually a really great question. I struggled with that as well, with all of my personal statements as well. So we're just about at the top of the hour. We have a survey. The word count limit, I want to say, is 500, but you can definitely check on the application. Jamika also might have it on hand. But yes, we have a survey in the chat. Please take a look and take a moment. It's only like 2 or 3 questions. Please take a moment to fill it out. For those of you that do get awarded for the application, there will be a dinner and it will be at our new Flickr building. So I just want to put that out there. We're really excited for our 3050 building. And so we just want to thank you. As I mentioned earlier, this is the first workshop that we've held within our 10 years of our 7-generation scholarship committee. And so again, we're wishing you good luck. And again, we are here for support. Please email, please call, and make sure to give Nandita a holler. So let's go ahead and give our speakers one last round of applause. And thank you so much for joining. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you.